Hi, I'm Alex Lamb, author of the Roboteer novels, and you're watching Secrets of the Universe, the thrilling, magnificent video series in which I attempt to unpack every single major question in the history of all things that have ever existed, ever. Possibly the most ambitious and ill-conceived project on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. Magnificent. What are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to unpack the notion of what is good. That old chestnut, the Greeks talked about it. People sat round in togas in Rome and the like and had moral philosophy conversations, and people have been trying to ask the question, what does it mean to be good? As long as there's been moral philosophy, really, we're going to take that entire subject and we're going to resolve it all in 10 minutes or less. Hooray! Well, basic introduction. What is good? Ethical behaviour, fairly straightforward. I think we're all quite familiar with the idea. Why is it interesting? I think we've all had one or two quandaries in our life when we've wondered about what is the right thing to do here, what would be the good thing to do. How does it actually work? What actually is good? Well, I can tell you it's somewhat of a subjective type of subject, but I think I've nailed it. So my personal take is that good, if you like, is cooperative behaviour. What I mean by this is that you can frame what happens with morality in terms of prisoner's dilemma, the exciting thing which I mentioned in a previous video. And what I mean by this is that I would propose that there's a fundamental symmetry to all cooperative acts that underpins everything that occurs in every living system. So everything from molecules happening to be in combination in such a way as to give rise to a living system, all the way up to all of the human structures and all the complex social establishments which we see around us, all governed by the same pattern. So how does it apply? Well, when we decide to do something good, there's a simple baseline concept that we can run with. We're sort of like, somebody is suffering by the side of the road, Good Samaritan style. Do you decide to go and help or not? Well, under these circumstances, we might say that going and helping the person is good, and then we can say that not helping the person is bad. Or an even clearer example, you have a choice. You see a gun on the ground. You're in front of a bank. You have the choice to rob the bank or not rob the bank. Which is good? Not a particularly deep or challenging moral dilemma because we kind of know what the likely answer to that one is. But that's the point. Underpinning all of these different moral quandaries is the idea of some kind of an act or a choice to make an act that is framed in terms of something cooperative. And herein lies the rub, the difficulty about why moral philosophy has churned and iterated for thousands of years. And that is that patterns of cooperation, when they arise in nature, always have boundaries. For instance, there's a thrilling thing that gets studied in biology called the green beard effect. The idea is, this is something that's used to study what's called kin selection. That is, I have an enormous green beard. You have to imagine that for a moment. There, that's me with a green beard. So if I have an enormous green beard and all my children have enormous green beards, what happens is that they can easily recognize each other. And if they can easily recognize each other, then they know it's safer to cooperate with somebody else who has a green beard. Win! Much less likely to steal their lunch or what have you. And that works right up until somebody else figures out a way to fake a green beard. Quite possibly by combining leaves and twigs together in some sort of fiendish system held together with spittle or sinew or some such thing, maybe the sinew of badgers. You get the idea. A green beard, an artificial green beard, a liar's green beard. So the idea being then that at the point at which the lying green beard appears, the green beard people, oh no, we were trying to cooperate and now it's all buggered. Because what happens there is that then they get what's called the sucker's payoff, if you like. Their pattern of cooperation breaks down, and we have to wait in nature for something to show up where there's a different island of cooperation that arises. And these islands of cooperation can show up in different ways. The point being that structure has to be present in the world in order for some kind of pattern of cooperation to arise. So what this tells us is that any time we're looking at good versus evil, there absolutely, obviously are objectively evil things that we can do. And those relate to things which do nobody any good except the self. So they're completely non-cooperative acts. However, when it comes to good, the question with good is good with regards to what collective? Because you're always asking the question of, which particular social grouping, which cooperative bunch are you actually doing good with respect to? Good is never just sort of like uniquely, absolutely total. It's very hard to do something that is good for the universe. The universe is a relatively large structure that doesn't particularly care about what you do on your lunch break. However, we can conceivably stretch things up as good for the world, and that's about the totality of the scope that human beings are, broadly speaking, capable of conceiving good in. But there's no reason it shouldn't go further. So yeah, good then is this pattern of selective cooperative engagement. And the thing that really bedevils this is the fact that cooperative groups pretty much always arise in nature in response to selection pressures from without. So in other words, cooperation happens usually in consequence due to competition elsewhere. So you can't really have cooperation without something to cooperate against, if you like. So this makes it even harder because not all cooperative patterns are going to, the little groups can be good to each other and then compete against absolutely. You can have one family doing good to each other, but they're a murderous family and their job is to kill everybody else, but to love each other while they do it. Or likewise, you can have a nation state of people who want to be terribly cooperative with each other and build a supportive and warm economy, but they're going to do this by invading their neighbours and executing them all with ice picks. Same problem. Where is the limits of good? And of course the answer is it depends upon where you put your boundary. And this, of course, is why moral philosophers have had such a good run of it over the last 3,000 or 4,000 years, trying to figure out whether or not there's some absolute that guides all of this. And the answer is, of course, no. There can't be. Game theory makes it abundantly clear that all cooperative islands A have scope and B have duration. So there pretty much can't be a universal answer. Now we might synthesize the means for one by driving ourselves into a situation where we're effectively in mass competition against nature on our own planet. We've so taken things to the edge of our planet it's trying to destroy us. So the idea of cooperating with nature prior to reaching that point, probably a good idea. Climate change and all that. We'll come back to that in a later video. But barring the idea that we either cooperate as an entire planet or lose absolutely everything that we have, that's about probably the sort of at least at a moment at this scale in human development, about as big as we can push it. Anyway, that's the general idea. Good, moral philosophy, win. So there is no should. I suppose that's my net point, is that people say, well, what should you do? And the answer is, there isn't a should. There's never actually a specific should. The universe is not arranged in this way. People say, but should you say that, Alex? And the answer is, it depends upon who I'm trying to cooperate with. And the answer is, I'm trying to cooperate with you, lovely internet people. That's why I'm doing this, because I've made a choice, which seems to me to be an efficient choice, to cooperate with people out there in internet land. Because I feel that by pooling our knowledge and working together, we can make the world, and indeed the universe, a more beautiful place. That's probably enough for now. Thank you so very much for listening and watching. Hooray for us, collectively speaking, and tune in next time for more exciting things. Bye!